Hey, thank you everyone for attending this morning. Today is June the 30th. We are calling to order the Parks and Environmental Committee at 9 a.m. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Vaccaro,
Present.
Alderwoman Tyus, Alderwoman Martin,
Present.
Alderwoman Navarro,
Present.
Alderman Todd,
He's there. I don't know.
Present.
Well, he's
Alder-
saying present. You can't hear him.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard,
Present.
Here.
Alderman, thank you. Alderwoman Pihl, Chairwoman Boyd,
Present,
6 present, you have 4.
thank you. I would like to make a motion to approve the minutes from June the 15th, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Could you please call the roll?
Alderman Vaccaro,
Aye.
Alderwoman Tyus,
Aye.
Alderwoman Martin,
Aye.
Alderwoman Navarro,
Aye.
Alderman Todd,
Aye.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard,
Aye.
Alderwoman Pihl, Chairwoman Boyd,
Aye.
7
Go ahead.
aye votes.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I should have asked, was there any discussion? I'm trying to follow Alderwoman Tyus. I kind of learned from her, so I forgot to ask that question. Do we have any discussion on the previous minutes?
No, I think we would have.
Okay, thank you. Okay, by your vote, you sustain and the motion. So we're going to start the meeting. I had asked Dr. Eccles to please come before the Parks Committee, and he did readjust his schedule so he could come in and talk to us. I do know that in the past, Parks was mostly focusing on parks, and it was interesting yesterday when we were on the Streets Committee, and what the chair of Streets had been asking for is what I had asked for from those same departments in regards to environmental. So I'm going to ask Dr. Eccles if he could start off with his presentation, and that would kind of get us going. You're on mute, Dr. Eccles. Okay.
So a presentation wasn't requested, but I can talk about the environmental health program at the City of St. Louis Department of Health. Particularly of interest was the community sanitation program, which is a program that responds to complaints and enforces the local, state, and federal regulations as it relates to raw sewage, excessive garbage, trash, hazardous materials, and heat and cold related illnesses. We also, this program also provides services for institutions that provide recreational water activities for the recreational water facilities, bathhouses, and massage and tattoo parlors. So this is one of the environmental health division is really the regulatory arm of the health department. And so the community sanitation program really deals a lot with the excessive garbage and so forth that occurs in our community. And so there's an official protocol that individuals in the community can follow. If there's issues in a neighborhood or in a particular ward, they can call our community sanitation program at 314-657-1539. We typically respond to the request within a couple of days. Sometimes if there are any pressing legal issues regarding a situation, it can take a little bit longer, but our staff typically will relay information to the community member to ensure that they're updated on the status of the particular situation as it relates to the city's response.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions? Alderman Vaccaro?
Well, I do. Well, not so much about that, but so the water that we drink comes out of the Mississippi River. And are we testing that water regularly for COVID? And I mean, I know everything comes downstream from other states to us. Not just COVID, but medicines that are being, run into the river. Are we testing our water for any kind of drugs or COVID or diseases on a regular basis? And what are we doing to kill that?
So the water treatment facility is operated by Kurt Scobie.
Right.
And so those questions should be directed to him. However, there are special projects that the Missouri Department of Health and Human Services are implementing. One is the sewer shed project, which is where they're testing sewage at different sewage treatment facilities, looking for the presence of COVID-19, looking for the presence of SARS-CoV-2 virus. And there are no sewage treatment facilities in the city of St. Louis that are part of that project, but there are other sewage treatment facilities in the St. Louis metropolitan area that are included. And to date, the Delta variant has been detected at all of those sewage treatment facilities. So we know that it's in the Delta variant, which is the variant of concern at this point in time, is present in the St. Louis metropolitan area.
So, but you're saying other places are testing, but we're not?
So the Missouri Department of Health and Human Services selected the sewage treatment facility sites. So we weren't a part of the decision process there, but they do relay the results to us.
Because didn't that one of the like even in ours, one of the pumps quit working and the sewage overflowed the river, which puts that COVID in the water we're drinking. Or am I drinking it? I realize they treat the water, but I'm,
Right, and so again, I'm not. The water treatment isn't my area of expertise, and so I think that's something that Kurt Scobie, who oversees the water treatment facilities for the city, I think he's the best one to actually speak to that.
Okay, I would ask Chairman Boyd if maybe we should have Dr. Eccles and Kurt Scobie on at the same time, because I guess my thing is that Kurt Scobie would say, well, that's kind of a medical thing. This way, if we have you both at the same time, maybe we can get answers. It's something that I think about. Other people I know are saying, I'm not drinking the water, I'm drinking bottled water, but I don't even know that that's even any better. I still think the best way is to get vaccinated, but which I did. But I mean, that's obviously a concern. And then when you see where the sewage plant overflowed the river, it makes you wonder, because you can pick the big leaves and stuff out and through that screen before it goes in. But what are we doing to treat the water? I mean, anyway, that's really my only concern and question. I guess, Madam Chair, if we can have a meeting and bring Kurt Scobie and Dr. Eccles together, I would be interested to see how apparently we're not testing where other people are testing, and I don't know why they did not. I mean, I would certainly want to see for what our sewer bill keeps going up in leaps and bounds, and I would be concerned about the water, and people drinking the water, and that being a source of disease or COVID. So anyway, that was my only real thing.
Thank you. Alderwoman Tyus.
I just want to follow up with the questions that the Alderman from the 23rd had. Actually, I used to be chair of public utilities many moons ago as a 20th Ward Alderwoman. Usually, and I don't know if I recall seeing it lately, but maybe the last few years, it used to be that every year the water department put out a pretty extensive report about what they were testing on and quality of the water. St. Louis has always been very fortunate to have a viable water source, and we actually sell part of our water, and it's always been some of the best water in the country. So I think you could just probably call over and ask Mr. Scobie, Alderman Vaccaro, if there's a recent report, and we don't have to be, I don't think necessarily under the special program that the state is doing for us also to implement our own testing. So that even if the state didn't pick us, that might be something that we would request to happen, is that if it's not happening, which I would be surprised if it's not, that we requested ourselves that it does happen.
Well, if it's possible, then I would ask the chairwoman, or if she wants, I can do it. I will send something to Kurt Scobie, or she can, asking for a copy of that report to be distributed amongst us, if that sounds normal.
That's fine.
And I also want to thank the chair for understanding that parks is parks and environmental, because you are correct. For many, many years, we just talked about the parks issue, and the environmental is one that is of substantial importance in our community, especially when you look at the tall grass in the community right now, which we have a law against, but which the city violates its own norm, and the dangerous buildings, and all of that has not only a physical impact upon the community, but it also has a very psychological impact upon the community, and it depresses you. During the Memorial Day holiday, I drove around my community, which is different than when I got elected to 20th Ward. I didn't have all of this, so it's very different representing the first ward versus what was the real 20th Ward. But all of my private property owners had their grass cut, except for the ones that have abandoned their property. And the only grass that wasn't cut was the city's property. And so I get all kind of torment calls from tormented constituents who are just so upset. A lot of them are cutting the front yard, and then when they do that, the backyard doesn't get cut. My thing is that I haven't ever known the health department to get involved in this, but it really is a health concern. And if you don't have an answer to this now, I would like to suggest that maybe you maybe come up with something that you could do to help us, because I have a law I've been writing about how we can address some of these vacant properties, which is to let the neighbors cut them and get paid, because it's not fair for the city to go on for 6 and 8 weeks. Todd Walterman came up with that idiot idea under the Francis Slay administration, and it wasn't like that before. And it's really an idiotic idea to not cut grass for 6 to 8 weeks in places where people live next door to it and are in houses. And so we have to do something different. And so I don't want to put you on the spot now, but I would just love for you to think about if there's some way the health department could enforce health concerns when you're living next door to these, grass that's up to your knees. And the other thing is the vacant buildings. Several years ago, I had and I know I had the young lady who was drugged into a vacant building. She walked going to meet her friend, and she walked over to the alderman from the 22nd Ward and was drugged into a building and was attacked and sexually assaulted. And she did live, and she's doing really well. I work with her mom, and they moved out the neighborhood. But again, that whole environmental thing of having vacant buildings and vacant properties, and then blaming it on the residents who are keeping their property up. That's not their fault. That's the city not doing their job, because if every private property owner has their grass cut, and the only thing that's not taken care of are the vacant buildings that we have, or the tall grass that we, the city, are responsible for taking care of, then we're doing something wrong, and we're not putting the resources where we need to. And so I would just ask you if you could maybe come up with some ideas how we can address this. My idea is, again, to let the citizens cut the grass, the LRA grass, and send the LRA the same notice that the citizens are sent. And then if LRA doesn't cut the grass in 7 days, that the citizens can cut it and then put a lien against that property. And if LRA does not pay the citizens back in 5 years, within that 5 years, that becomes their property, because that then gives an incentive for citizens to cut grass instead of sitting next door to properties that's impairing their health. Because of course we have animals running through there. We have transients going in there. We have crime going in there. And that all is somehow being attributed to citizens in mostly North St. Louis, which is happening, when in fact the citizens do not believe in that at all. that's being imposed upon them by the city of St. Louis. And the city of St. Louis is not adhering to neighborhood standards. So I just asked you if you would think about that and maybe at some time get back with us if you have some ideas.
Thank you, Alderwoman Tyus.
Absolutely, and that's a really great point. So the we know that when you have prairie level grass, that vectors can reside in those areas. So whether it's mosquitoes, rats, other rodents, and then you have stray animals that can also be in those facilities. Then the vacant buildings is also a major issue as well, because it poses a safety issue, but also can be demoralizing for individuals who are living in the community, who are doing their due diligence to maintain their property, but then they have this nuisance a few blocks down or even next door. So I think there are some opportunities for the health department to get involved in those discussions, but I do think it's going to require several City of St. Louis organizations working together to make sure that there's a timely response to any nuisances or any complaints that are issued regarding grass cutting as well as vacant buildings. And so we're more than happy to participate in those discussions and provide insight on efforts that will help make our response an equitable one, because we also want to make sure that we aren't causing any additional issues with the solutions, any additional problems when we work to establish solutions. So we'll be more than happy to help with those discussions.
Do you can I just follow up for a minute? Do you see any way of enforcement? Okay, so working with forestry, that's great, and I'm a Greg Hayes fan. Because I think that they get stuck with weight. They weren't supposed to, when they were envisioned, they were not supposed to be cutting all this LRA property. But is there anything that I also would like you to come up with of ways to enforce that it gets done? Because just kicking the can down the road and saying, oh, we're going to get to it. And I've been working with Alan Jakowski, and he's cutting as fast as he can amidst all this rain. But we need to have a bigger plan. Like, first of all, start cutting the beginning of April, whenever we can, with a large forestry crew to get the first cut, and then cut maybe longer, instead of stopping in September, October, cut through November or something like that. But I was just, the health department has a lot of power in things that they can do that the building division really can't do, because you all can cut through a lot of the red tape. So I would love to just hear any ideas you might have about making the city enforce their own laws, because we're not supposed to have grass up to our knees. That's a violation of the city ordinance, and they will send you a notice about that. Thank you.
Okay, and thank you all. Dr. Eccles, I know that you have to leave, but if you would, I have other committee members. Could you please answer their questions? Because it's not, I need them to be recognized and be heard for the questions. And thank you, Alderwoman Tyus. You brought good points. And like I said, from yesterday's meeting and my meeting, we're kind of on the same page. So thank you. Alderwoman Martin.
Thank you. I guess I don't really have any questions. I just have more of a point to make. One, I posted a DNR's plan that you can look at if you're concerned about the water testing in the chat. Two, MSD does test water, and I have confirmation they're testing for COVID too. They test what comes out, not what goes in, because we always have something in our water, right? I mean, they're tests for a lot of different things. So this isn't a new issue. Clean water is not a new issue, and so they are testing for that. So just keep that in mind. Thank you, Dr. Eccles, for coming and speaking with us.
Alderwoman Navarro.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman, and thank you, Dr. Eccles, for being here, and just thank you again for all of your hard work this past year. I feel like anytime I see you, I just need to thank you for everything that you've been through, and I know that we are still getting through. Just one quick question about the community sanitation program. How many employees do we have, and are they inspectors? Because I know a lot of what you mentioned is covered by MSD, the City Water Division. There are other departments for that, but this particular program that you're here to talk about, how many employees are we talking about?
For the community sanitation program, I believe we have 5 to 6 employees, full-time employees.
Got it. Thank you. And so people will call that phone number if they have any of those issues that you listed, and then those folks kind of investigate and then connect them to whether it's MSD or the Water Division or refuse. Is that kind of how that works?
Well, a lot of times, if we get a report or a complaint, then our staff will investigate it, and then they'll write a summary and share it with our counterparts at those other city agencies. So that's one thing that they do. And then for the recreational facilities, so they have a routine schedule for inspecting pools before pools reopen and those types of things. So, but yeah, they respond to the complaints as well as have their standard operating duties.
Great. Thank you. That's all I have, and I appreciate your time.
Okay, Alderman Jesse Todd.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for coming to the meeting, Dr. Eccles, but I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Okay. Alderwoman Shameem Clark Hubbard.
No questions, thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Dr. Eccles. And so we'll probably reach back out to have you and Kirk come back to the meeting to kind of talk more in detail in regards to the sanitation, because I too have reached out to you in regards to that. And I do remember some of the work that Melba Board did with sanitation, and she focused a lot on that when she was with the health department. So I'm just concerned, and I've been talking about this for quite a while. So I feel that the dumping, COVID, cancer, asthma, all that's intertwined together. And it's the poor communities that are being impacted from this. And it's because of them not knowing and not being educated. So thank you. Did you have anything you wanted to say before you left?
Yeah, thank you for this opportunity. And to your point, so a lot of the issues that are impacting our most vulnerable populations, the most vulnerable communities, these aren't new issues. But one thing is we talk about enforcement and the efforts that need to be done. We also have to look at capacity as well. And so we're doing our very best to streamline the efforts of our staff, as well as we've advocated for additional staff to ensure that we as a health department can provide a more timely response to the situations that arise in our community that may pose a danger to their health and well-being. And so as we move forward with our efforts, we want to make sure that all the committees that we're a part of, we want to make sure that you all stay well informed about the health department's activities, and also make sure that you all are aware of what the reporting protocols and those things, so that if you receive a complaint or if you're approached by a community member from your ward, you'll know what the health department is actually doing for particular situations. One thing that I think may be helpful for this particular committee as well is having a presentation from the state on the sewer shed COVID-19 testing project. That's something that information isn't widely available about it, but what I can do is work with the state to have them send a designee or representative to present on that information if you all would like to receive that.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, so I kind of went off of the schedule because I knew that his schedule was kind of bombarded and he was trying to squeeze in. And I didn't know that I had some other people on that weren't on a committee. Did anyone of you have any comments? Annie Rice, did you have any comments?
Just a quick question. Thanks so much for offering the opportunity to ask questions, Madam Chair. Dr. Eccles, there was a little bit of talk about the potential for COVID to be transmitted through our drinking water. Could you just comment on whether or not that's possible, please?
Right. Today, there's no evidence of that. And so what we do know is that the treatment protocols for the city in particular are well documented, and that hasn't been posed as an issue, not only in the city of St. Louis, but in other areas as well.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure that that was very clear to the community that we're not transmitting COVID via the water supply. So thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Alderwoman Evans, did you have any questions?
Thanks, Madam Chair. No, I don't have any questions at this time. Thank you.
Okay. And Alderwoman Schweitzer, did you have any questions?
Thank you, Chairwoman. No question.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Dr. Eccles, very much.
All right, you're welcome. Thank you.
I'm going to go back on the program, on the agenda. And so Alderman Heather Navarro, she has a bill that she wanted to present to us. And I'm holding the best part for last because it's a project that I'm I have been working on. And I'd rather let the speaker, the sponsor of that bill, present her bill and her guests. So that way we won't be taking all their time up to wait, for their bill to be heard. So Alderwoman Navarro.
Great. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. And thank you everyone for being here today. This is about Board Bill 32, and this bill regards the approval of grant funds to expand clean transportation in the city of St. Louis. And we've talked in this committee before over the last year quite a bit about promoting electric vehicle infrastructure, and we've actually passed some legislation to do that here in the city of St. Louis. And a big part of our conversation has been about how we make sure that this new technology, this clean technology, is accessible and available to everyone, not just the folks who can afford a Tesla, for example. And we do know that the more people who drive EVs, electric vehicles, not only does it benefit the folks who drive them because they don't have to pay as much for gas and that sort of thing, but it cleans up the air for all of us. And so this bill has to do with an opportunity to expand that clean transportation, specifically into low income areas and in terms of serving our seniors. And I just want to mention that yesterday, Bi-State made a big announcement, and St. Louis now has a fleet of 18 electric buses. My understanding is it's the second largest electric fleet in the country. So we are really making leaps and bounds in this area. And I think it's really going to serve our citizens, our residents very well into the future. So before I turn it over to Annalisa Stover, she's with the St. Louis Area Agency on Aging, and she's going to talk just a little bit about the Silvers program and about this grant. I just want to give you the high level bullet points on it real quick. So this is a Department of Energy grant that is administered through the Fourth Foundation, which is a nonprofit organization. It's for $60,000, and it goes to help provide transportation services through electric vehicles to senior centers here in St. Louis. And so I will let Annalisa get into the details of that, and then we'll be available to answer your questions. So Madam Chair, if it's all right, I will turn it over to Ms. Stover.
Yes, ma'am.
Great, thank you.
Okay, good morning. Thank you to the Board of Aldermen Parks and Environment Committee for the opportunity to speak in favor of Board Bill 32. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman Boyd, and thank you also Alderman Navarro for sponsoring the bill. So as Alderman Navarro stated, the goal of the bill is to expand access to transportation for clients in the city of St. Louis and to introduce clients to electric vehicles. I'm going to take a step back and just say that I'm the new director of the St. Louis Area Agency on Aging. We provide services to older adults. Thank you. We provide services to older adults and adults with disabilities that live in the city of St. Louis. We reach approximately 11,000 unduplicated people through services each year. We have services that we provide here in our office, but we also contract with community partners. So we contract with community agencies across the city in north, south, east, and west to provide services. Of discussion today are the services that will be provided by two of our senior centers through this program. So the Silvers program stands for the St. Louis Vehicle Electrification Rides for Seniors program, which is a mouthful. So I will just say Silvers. And as was previously stated, there's an organization called Fourth that is an Oregon nonprofit corporation that reached out to Maurice. Maurice is with us today. He's a climate advisor for the City of St. Louis Planning and Urban Design Agency. And he approached us saying this agency wants to make sure that there's access to electric vehicles for older adults and adults with disabilities in the city. Are you in support of this? We reached out to our provider network of senior centers and identified two senior centers that were interested in participating. One of the senior centers is City Seniors. They are located at 4705 Ridgewood in the 63116 zip code. So that is one senior center that is located in South City. And the second senior center is Northside Youth and Senior Services. They are located at 4120 Maffitt, 63113. So the grant application was written with letters of support from those two senior centers, as well as a letter of support from our agency. So Fourth was awarded the grant from the Department of Energy, DOE, and this is a 3-year program. Through this program, 5 vehicles will be provided. 3 electric vehicles will be provided to Northside Youth and Senior Services, and 2 electric vehicles will be provided to city seniors. This is a pilot program where we want to provide services. We want to provide rides in these vehicles. So we will be taking clients to medical appointments, to grocery stores, business-related appointments, other ride requests as they're received. The vehicles will also be used to deliver Meals on Wheels, also called home-delivered meals. So we provide meals to 2,000 clients on a weekly basis. These clients are homebound, which means they're unable to leave their home, and we deliver the meal to them. The idea of delivering the meal in the electric vehicle is that it will allow people to ask questions about the vehicle. It will also introduce them to these types of electric vehicles. So it's a 2-prong approach. One is providing the rides to the clients in the electric vehicles. The second one is delivering the meals. And again, the goal of this program is just to expand access to transportation and also to introduce people to the electric vehicles themselves. Through this grant, the vehicles will be leased for 3 years. The responsibility for that lease is on Fourth. Fourth is also maintaining the insurance coverage for the vehicles and for all of the drivers that will be driving the vehicles. They also have installed charging stations that can be used for those vehicles as well as for other people in the community that might be in need of a charging station. With that, I just ask you to vote in support of this bill. We are just wanting to expand access to transportation options for older adults and adults with disabilities that live in the city. Thank you so much for this opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Did you have anything else, Alderwoman Navarro?
I did not have any other speakers lined up. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So on that note, we'll allow our committee members to ask questions. So Alderman Vaccaro.
I'm in support of this. I have no questions. It sounds really good.
Okay. Alderwoman Sharon Tyus.
Yes. I read that Fourth is an organ nonprofit organization. Can you tell me what Fourth stands for, or a little bit more about Fourth?
Yes. So Fourth is a nonprofit organization. Their goal is to advance electric, shared, and smart transportation through innovation, demonstration, advocacy, and engagement. They reached out to St. Louis and have participated with St. Louis. One of the reasons was because St. Louis was selected as a site for advancing electric vehicles. I'm familiar with them just as Fourth Mobility, but I'm going to their website now to find out what that acronym stands for. So the name is actually Fourth, and the idea is Go Forth Empowering Mobility. And we have been having monthly conference call meetings with them, in addition to with the senior centers, to discuss the project and to discuss outreach to the community, ways to let people know about the program. So.
I'm sorry, you said that they chose St. Louis because why?
So when they chose St. Louis because St. Louis was selected as one of the 25 cities that are focused on electric vehicles. Fourth is a partner on the American Cities Climate Challenge. So they were the city of St. Louis is one of 25 entities that is part of that American Cities Climate Challenge. So Fourth is another partner, and they wanted to collaborate.
Okay, and so there wouldn't be any ownership. This wouldn't be part of the city's vehicle fleet. In fact, we would rent these vehicles. So
Fourth is leasing the vehicles, so they will maintain the vehicles and they will be responsible for the upkeep of the vehicles for the 3-year period. So the vehicles are not owned, they are leased.
And the lease is signed by Fourth, not the city of St. Louis. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And it's for the next.
Oh, I apologize.
Go ahead.
The charging stations will remain beyond that 3-year time period. And during that 3-year time period, we will reach out to Ameren and collaborate and partner with other entities to see if we can put a plan in place for what occurs beyond that 3-year time period.
And so that's what my next question was, follow up about the charging station. Who owns that, and will we own them when they're done? Will we be able to purchase them? Are they being leased? What's going on with the charging stations?
The charging stations are permanently installed at the 2 senior centers, and there's no cost to operate them. There's just a cost to install them.
So they would own them since they're installing them on their property. That will become their property.
Correct.
Okay. I have no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alderwoman Martin.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman, and thank you, Annalise, for presenting. I think this is a great bill. I believe with implementing the electrification of our vehicles and just in general with planning, I think we as a region have a real opportunity to make it equitable, and I think this sounds like a great first step. St. Louis is known for its high asthma rates, and it seems like we're doing some really good things to mitigate that here in St. Louis. And thank you, Alderwoman Navarro, for helping make a lot of this possible. And I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor too. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Alderwoman Navarro, you probably don't have any questions. Alderman Jesse Todd.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. And thank you, Madam Alderwoman. I think it's a great bill. I would like to be added as a co-sponsor. Thank you.
Okay, Alderwoman Shameem Clark Hubbard.
Thank you. I don't have any questions, but I also want to just comment and thank Alderwoman Navarro for always keeping us on the forefront of these issues. And I would absolutely ask to be added as a co-sponsor as well.
Okay. She's not here. So we have all the people that are not on the committee. And so Alderwoman Rice, did you have any questions or comments?
No questions. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Alderwoman Schweitzer.
No questions. Proud to be a co-sponsor. Thanks so much.
Alderwoman Evans. Alderwoman Evans. Okay, so at this time, I'll turn it back over to Alderwoman Navarro.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. And I just want to say thank you to Director Stover and congratulations on your recently new position. Sorry, I didn't start off with that. I also just wanted to thank too Maurice Mouillet, who's also here on this call, who is our climate advisor. They have really been the ones doing the hard work behind this. And I think, you know, the reference to the American Cities Climate Challenge is a good one because this is something that St. Louis was selected for. Maybe it's been 3 years now that we've been receiving funding. And it has opened up a lot of doors, a lot of opportunities. It is getting St. Louis recognized, and it is attracting, I think, more opportunities as people see that St. Louis is moving in this direction. It is bringing more funding and like I said, more opportunity into our city. So I'm grateful that we were selected, and it really seems to be paying off, and just grateful for all the good work that people are doing to make sure that this happens here. So I have nothing else other than to ask for your favorable support for Board Bill 32.
So you're putting that in a motion?
Well, I can make a motion that we pass
Okay.
Board Bill 32 out with due pass recommendation, if you're taking motions.
Could we have a
Second.
second? Okay.
Previous rule.
Okay. All right. I'm figuring this part out. Okay. And so now we have passed Board Bill 32.
Any objections to previous roll?
Yeah, you gotta
Okay.
ask if-
We get back to the previous roll.
Hearing none.
Hearing none.
Now you've passed the board bill out with
There we
the
go.
due
Thank
pass
you very
recommendation.
much. And so I'm never too proud to take direction. So thank you very much.
That's how you learn.
Okay, so now we're going to the next order of business. And this is something that I have been working on, ironically, since 17. And it has been probably before then, because I was cleaning alleys in the 90s. And so I think what I have been talking about, I didn't realize how the impact of environmental it has had on our communities in regards to disease and in regards to our health of communities. This whole dumping, I don't think people realize the snowball effect it has had on communities that are not educated enough to know the impact that it has on them as a community. From the refuge picking up lots and lots of items that have been dumped on lots. And we have vacant buildings, even to the point of the tires, dumping of the tires. So all of this has caused, to me, a higher number in regards to asthma, in regards to cancer, and even regards to COVID. And people keep saying, you know, our COVID numbers are so high. Well, I kept asking that question with Dr. Eccles. I kept saying, well, if COVID is airborne and we have lots and lots of dumping, isn't that impacting us as communities in regards to the COVID? But I never got an answer for it. And so what Alderwoman Tyers had asked for on streets, I had asked the same question for those numbers and stats from the health department, from refuge, and from streets, because I know it's costing the city millions of dollars to constantly pick up this dumping. And, you know, a lot of people are on the myth that it's all coming from the county, and it's not. It's all the dumping is not coming from people from the county. It's coming from people in the city that lives in our communities. Because I kind of chuckled yesterday on the streets committee when she said that she walked up on somebody and they were dumping. And my husband says the same thing as her husband. Why are you getting out the car with your phone, taking pictures of these people? I said, because I want them to know somebody is watching them. I'm not accepting this. And so I don't call myself to be a superwoman, or I don't have God on my back, but I just know I believe in my community, and I know we don't want to live like this. So Alderwoman Navarro connected me with Maurice, and I want to thank her because I didn't even know he existed. I mean, I didn't even know the city had a piece like this that talked about environmental. So we had started talking about doing a resolution for environmental justice. And so as we kept digging, and I said that I would probably wind up calling Alderwoman Tyers and some other senior aldermen, because I'm thinking it might start off as a resolution, but it would have to go into a bill with the finances attached on what it would cost the city to get us where we need to be addressing environmental injustice in communities. Because we cannot just do a Band-Aid and say we need to address it. I think we need to have a plan that we need to say, you know, in 90 days, a year, or whatever, this is where we need to be to improve the environment in these communities, to address the high impact that it has in regards to disease, cancer, COVID, you know, health as a whole in our communities. So I asked Maurice if he would kind of talk about it a little while, and then you all can ask him or myself any questions. And like I said, it's just the beginning that we started on it, but I've been focusing on it for quite a while. I just didn't know how to go about it to get it where it needs to be, to present it to you guys to say, this is what we need to do as a committee. So Maurice, would you please speak on this, please?
Yes, thank you, Chairwoman Boyd. And thank you, Alderwoman Navarro. Thank you for having me here today. As the chairwoman said, I'm the climate advisor for the city of St. Louis, Maurice Mouillet. And the chairwoman and I have been working on an environmental resolution for a couple months now. And, we've worked on a number of things. And one of the things I wanted to talk about today was we've written in a way that is positive and outward looking, in a way that we can start to see things that we want to see in our communities across the city. So a number of those things, as Alderwoman Navarro has said as well, is, we want to have everyone in the city have availability to electric vehicles, no matter their economic situation or their social class, right? And Silvers is actually a part of that. We're helping those that are most vulnerable, right? And that need the most help in their life at that stage in their life. So the resolution essentially talks about even a lot of the things that Dr. Eccles was talking about today as well, and why he was on the call. Clean air and water are the building blocks of a healthy and thriving community. Crime prevention through environmental design is another tool that the city can use to solve economic, social, and environmental challenges, right? When you see streets that are nicely paved and good, when you see sidewalks that are in proper condition, as Alderwoman Tyus has said, when you see grass that is cut, those are actually ways to reduce crime through good environmental design, right? Because when you see that grass is cut, it's kept well. When you see that street is paved well, the infrastructure is upkept well. When you see that sidewalk is in good condition, or that building that may not be habitable right now is secured in a good fashion, that gives an impression to everyone in the city, whether they live or they're visiting there, that yes, this building, no one may live in this building right now, but something will happen in the near future, right? So it gives people hope, and it keeps the environment, as the chairwoman has said, safe. No mosquitoes, rats, and other things that affect everyone's health. No dumping of tires, because this grass is cut, and this building right now is in a place of transition, but it will change, right? Clean and affordable energy. That's another big thing. We want to make sure that renewable energy isn't just for those that can afford it, but renewable energy is for everybody. And right now, we know over the past couple of days, it's been very hot, right? So not just renewable energy, but high performing buildings. So we want to make sure that whether you're in historic building stock, I won't say old building stock. If you're in historic building stock, or if you're in new building stock, we want to make sure that that building is performing at a standard where you're not paying hundreds of dollars a month in June and July, and February and March, or January and February for your utility bill, right? We want to make sure that you can live in your home, and your children can go to school, and your elderly neighbor or family member can also live in their home safely. So that is also environmental justice as well, not just the natural environment, but the built environment. And we live in a heavily built out environment in the city of St. Louis, right? It's thoroughly built out. It's a grid design city. Also, multiple modes of transportation, making sure that, personal vehicles aren't the only means of transportation, but as Alderwoman Navarro was talking about earlier, we're pretty high up in electric vehicle buses, right? As far as within the whole country, in the middle of the country. And people don't expect that of us, but we're leading in that way. So, we have a set of electric buses that are operating on the most utilized bus routes. And the reason that's taking place is because for electric vehicles at the price point they're at right now, they have to drive those miles to make that economic sense. They make the environmental sense to do it, but the economic side, you have to drive those miles. And those miles essentially are around 8,000 miles and up per year. Probably for a bus, it's probably upwards of probably 10,000 miles per year, but a passenger vehicle, and it's something that we did in the city, to electrify parts of the city fleet. Those vehicles that are electrified in the city fleet, and when I mean the city fleet, I mean the city proper, not necessarily the airport. Those vehicles that were replaced to be electric had to drive upwards of at least 7,500 miles per year to make economic sense. So, making sure that we have, clean transportation for mass transit. We have light rail. We have some electric buses. We have some electric vehicles that we're bringing in to social service agencies. And so basically we have steps in different modalities that people need to live their lives. So whether it's going to work, whether it's going for something for fun, we're making sure we're finding different ways to get you there through clean transportation in the city. And also stable communities is one thing that's going to make us thrive. The more stable our communities are. So all these building blocks that I've talked about with regard to environmental justice, which really is economic justice, because to be successful, you have to tie, or we must tie, the environmental part to the economic part. So then therefore we solve both problems at the same time. And as we solve those two things, we will solve or help to solve our social issues as well. So I'm just kind of giving you a preview of some of the essentially the whereas clauses that we have in the resolution. But this gives you an idea of some of the work we've been doing over the past couple months. And I thank you for your time.
Okay.
I hand it back over to you, Chairwoman.
Thank you. Okay, Alderman Vaccaro, do you have any questions for Maurice?
No, I agree with all this. We need to figure out how we're going to make this better. I know we're pretty much under the state. We've put in board bills to raise the amount of the fines when someone's caught, but the voters have voted it down every time. So the fine isn't big enough. It's actually cheaper in some cases to dump than it is to bring it to the dump. And they figure, well, I think we should try again, put it back to the voters to try to. I think people get worried that they're going to get $1,000 fine because they didn't cut their grass. I don't think they understand, what it's about. But it's been brought to the voters, and they have voted it down every time since I've been here. But I think we need to try it again. But thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. Alderwoman Tyus.
I just have one question. I'm sorry. How do you pronounce your last name?
Mouye.
Mouye. French?
Yes, Kenyan, actually. Kenyan.
Kenyan, okay.
Kenyan, yes.
And you're the climate advisor for the city. Is that what your title is?
Yes, ma'am.
And so you work for the city, which department?
So technically I'm a loan to the city. So I technically work for the Natural Resources Defense Council, but I'm housed in planning and urban design.
Okay, so you're on loan to the city. You technically work for who?
The Natural Resources Defense Council.
Which is housed where?
All over the country, Alderwoman.
Okay. Well, I'm saying, so you have a headquarters here also?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. So here I am remote, but the Natural Resources Defense Council is based in New York. They have offices in New York, Washington, D.C., Chicago, L.A., but we have a number of colleagues like myself and others that are remote. So as Alderwoman Navarro said, Alderwoman Tyus, the city of St. Louis is part of the American Cities Climate Challenge. So think of it as like the top 25 cities across the country have been part of this challenge for the past 2.5, 3 years to work on a number of issues in the different cities. So one of the things we worked on in the city of St. Louis specifically were high performance buildings, transportation, electrification.
Can I stop you a little bit? My husband has been in green energy for 30 years, okay? I hear this at home 24/7, okay? I'm just trying to get your, and you said you are working with whom in the city? Housing and urban development?
Planning and urban design.
Planning, okay. I have no further
Under
questions.
Executive Director Don Rowe?
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm familiar.
Okay, thank you.
And my direct office in the city is at 1520 Market
Okay,
on the
thanks.
second floor.
Alderwoman Martin.
Thank you, Chairwoman, and thank you, Mr. Nubia. I appreciate you coming and presenting and giving us suggestions. I do want to commend our colleague Alderman Narayan for bringing that asbestos demolition bill forward last year. It was a really good step in making sure our air quality is managed during faulty demolition or preventing faulty demolitions by making sure the inspections are done correctly. So I think that was a great start, and I hope we can build on that and do other things with your office. Thank you.
Okay, Alderman Todd.
I don't have any questions, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Okay, Alderwoman Shameem Clark Hubbard.
No questions, thank you.
Alderwoman Rice.
No questions, thank you.
Alderwoman Schweitzer.
No questions, thank you.
Alderwoman Evans.
Yeah, I don't have a question. I just need clarity. What's your title? Your climate what?
Climate Advisor for the City of St. Louis, Alderwoman Evans.
Okay. Thank you very much. No
You're welcome.
questions.
Okay, and I asked him to come to present to everybody because to me it's a challenge because I just think, and I could be wrong, the senior audit people can tell me if I'm wrong or not. I just think a resolution is just something that's a Band-Aid, and I don't want it to be that. I want us as a city to address it as a problem as a whole, and health of our community is a #1 priority. And so environmental justice has several legs that we need to address. And so, like he said, the crime, the safety, the health, all of that is involved, and it stems from one thing and it just keeps building up. So I just wanted to make sure that I brought that to you all to let you know what we wanted to do. And if anybody wanted to work with me, I would be honored, because that would help me to be able to push this through and do better. So on that note, does anybody have any questions for me? Oh, y'all kind of nice, huh? Okay.
I will say I'm going to work with you, because streets and parks working together pretty much. And I would also say health. Those are the 3 committees. If we work together, we can address this issue holistically.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Chairwoman Boyd, just sign me up too to be of assistance in any way I can.
Okay, I appreciate it. Okay, on that note, do we have any other business? I know we'll have to excuse Alderwoman Pihl because she had notified me earlier that she would not be in attendance. So I'd like to excuse her for necessary absence. And then on that note, do we have any other business that needs to be discussed? Does anybody have anything else? Okay, I would like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Anybody want to do a previous roll?
Well, previous role, yes.
Okay, all right, I'm learning here. Okay, I'll adjourn the Parks and Environmental Committee. Thank you all very much.